Hello, everybody, and welcome along to this afternoon's webinar. Today's session is all about a quick guide to user management, so setting up and managing additional users with ease. My name is Calvin, and I will be your host and presenter for today's session. And I am joined by Duncan, who will be in the background this time, answering any questions that you might have throughout the session. So please don't be shy and get any questions that you've got in the question section ready to be answered. So the session is scheduled for about half an hour, but the presentation probably won't take too long because it is a nice, quick, short webinar today, but we should have a little bit of time if you do have any questions at the end there. So we'll be covering off adding or editing additional users. We'll then have a look at setting or, again, editing user access rights, followed by employee access levels. We'll be having a look at how to set employee access level. And when we go through the session and the demonstration, you'll see what that means within the Sage 50 payroll. We then have a little bit of a quiz at the end as well, and then we'll be jumping into further support and obviously any remaining questions that you might have. So without further ado, let's jump into it with our first section, which is all about adding or editing additional users. So here is your security and access rights window. To add additional users, it's in this window here. So this is where you can create additional usernames and assign those users passwords as well. So you'll see at the minute we have 2 in that screenshot, but when we jump to the demo, we'll be adding an additional one as well. So you can have a look at those. So a couple of things to note when it comes to adding users. You can add as many users as you need. So there is an unlimited number of users that you can add. However, you'll need a multi-user license for those users to log in at the same time. So although you can add as many users as you want, your license determines how many users can be logged in at the same time. Okay, so if you've got a multi-user license, then those users will be able to log in at the same time. If you're on a single user license, then although you can add different ones, only one can be logged in at the same time. Here you'll be adding their logon name, so their username and their password as well. So that will be specific for them. So either you can assign that or you can ask them for a password. It's completely up to you how you want to do that. And the bottom one is a bit of a tip from us. It doesn't prevent you using them. However, we do advise to avoid using special characters in the logon names, our usernames, such as spaces or hyphens as well. So please do avoid any special characters if you can. So what we'll do now, we're going to jump into our Sage 50 payroll program, and we're going to go ahead and we'll add an additional user. So here we are in our program. Now, currently I'm logged in with the manager username. So this is the username that every installation has, and it's the overall admin. So the admin of all admins is manager. So we're currently logged in as that. So to do this, we're going to have to go to tasks at the very top of Sage 50 payroll. Then we go down to security here. Then we go across to access rights. So we're going to click on access rights now, and here you'll see that window from the screenshots. Now I have added an additional user there. You'll see why later in the session. We're going to add a new one. So we're going to click add. So here is where you'll be adding their logon name. So we're going to give Duncan his very own username. And we're going to assign Duncan a password. There's no limitations to this. You can, in fact, leave a password blank if you wish, but we do advise password protecting it, of course. So we're going to keep it nice and simple for my terrible memory, unfortunately. So we're just going to pop a single character in there. In fact, no, we'll not. We'll call it, there we go. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is just demo data, so it doesn't matter if you get your hands on it, I suppose. Not that you would be able to. So we click OK. And that is Duncan now set up with a logon name and a password. So we're on a multi-user license, which means Duncan will be able to log in with his own username and access the payroll program whilst at the same time that I am as well. So that's as simple as it is. So when it comes to adding users, that's all there is to it. You can delete them, of course, just by highlighting and clicking the delete button. and that will delete that user. So if you have someone who's left and then being replaced, you could delete their username and then set the new hire up with a new username if you wish to do that. So that is the adding or editing additional users. So again, if you want to edit the password, so you see I've got my own here, you could just click edit, and then as I did not assign myself a password, will assign myself a password now. Click OK, and that's it. So the next thing we want to do once we've added a user is set their access rights, or of course edit an existing user's access rights as well. So this section is all about setting the access rights here. So you've got your create the user names and assigned passwords in the top left. The rest of it is about their access rights. So on the right hand side are about areas within the program that user can access. So you can set specific areas that they can or cannot access. Then you've got the employee record access as well. So you'll see there we've got our payroll frequencies, so pay frequencies there, and we have an access level. So if you remember, we spoke about setting an employee's access level, which we'll be looking at later, next section. This is where this comes a bit more relevant as well. So what we'll do now, we are going to jump back into our program because we're going to have a look at all of those various different access rights. Here we are, back again. So we're going to continue with Duncan as our example here. So we've set the log on and the password. So now we need to determine what can Duncan access within this, the payroll program itself. So we can either, depending on how meticulous you wish to be, we can either go through this list and check one by one. So you'll see here we have all of the payroll tasks. So if I were to click on payroll, all of these tasks are ticked, or we can tick individual ones, as you can see here. So I'm going to give him access to all of the payroll except for updating records, nominal link, and send pension data, as well as the pension correspondence. So ultimately what we want Duncan to be doing is processing the payroll, sending the employees the pay slips as well. However, we don't want Duncan to be updating records just yet, as the payroll may need to be checked before records can be updated. Now, of course, this is going to vary depending on how you wish to set them up, so it's all customizable based on your own preferences and what you want them to be. This is just for an example, of course. Now, that's the payroll, so we can minimize that if we want, and we can move on to the next one, which is the employee, so employee records. So again, we can either tick the box for all employee, or we can have simply employee record. We've got employee wizard, so can Duncan add new employees? Yes, we would like him to add new employees, so we want the employee wizard and quick employee selected. Personnel record, no, we don't want Duncan to access that, so we're going to leave that blank, and we can now minimize that as well. In fact, we'll minimize this one because we've completed it. So we're leaving that. Do we want Duncan to be able to see the year-to-date values? Yes. B45 information, well, he is going to be adding in new employees, so we'll give him access to that as well. Levers, now as you know, levers is very important when it comes to processing payroll. So yes, we'll give him access to levers because he will be processing it. Do we want Duncan to delete employees? No. So we don't want Duncan to delete any employees, and we'll give him statement of employment 2. So that's the employee section completed. So we'll minimize that once more. Now we're onto the company settings. So where within the company settings? So remember that's down here on the left-hand side. So you'll notice so far each of these sections relate to the stacked toolbar down the bottom left, which is payroll employee company. So now we're on a company. Do we want Duncan to be able to access company settings? Well, no, we don't. So we're going to leave that one off. What about pension schemes? No. Now he does process payroll, so I will allow him to access the pay elements in case he needs to add or amend any. and the variance settings as well. Now the rest we're going to leave off. So that is all we're giving Duncan in regards to company level. Next is about e-submissions. Quick reminder, you can see it's matching the bottom left here. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave this one because everything after updating records, we don't want Duncan to do, so he's getting nothing to do with these submissions. And that goes for the same with all of these, but we do want him to back up and be able to restore in case there are any issues. So we want Duncan to be able to back up, because backing up is the most important process you will ever do in Sage 50 Payroll. So please make sure every user is doing that on a regular basis. We'll allow Duncan to data import and export, because we may need some information from him, and we may send him some information that he may need to import as well. And what we'll do is we will skip the rest for speed. We do want Duncan to be able to roll back so that he can correct any errors that he may have done. Now this one here, so this is important. So this is the security. So as I mentioned, I am currently logged in as the manager username, which means I have access to everything in essence. Do we want our users to be able to add, edit, or amend other users as well as themselves? So for the purpose of this demonstration, we are giving Duncan restricted access to certain areas of the payroll. Therefore, we don't want him to be able to then just go and give himself access. So I'm going to leave these unticked. However, if you have multiple payroll admins, for example, so a couple of payroll managers who are both going to be working together and both are allowed to add and remove and edit users, you can give an additional user access to the security settings if you want, and that's these tick boxes just here. So please bear that in mind, because some people will just select all, not realizing that they have now given that user access to be able to amend their own access as well as others. Pre-update reports as well. We do want Duncan to have a look at pre-update reports. He's not allowed to update records, so post-update reports might not be relevant, but we are going to give him access to him anyway. Again, we don't necessarily want Duncan to do any of these. We will give him the health check though. So that is the areas. So we've selected now all of the relevant areas I want Duncan to have access to or not have access to when it comes to using the Sage 50 Payroll program. The next thing to look at is employee record access. So we've ascertained that Duncan can have a look at some employee records for sick pay purposes, for example. However, there may be a team, so we may have Duncan looking after the monthly employees. We may have another user who is looking after the weeklies, so for weekly or fortnightly as well. So you can choose which pay frequency of employees a user can access as well. Now, again, it's up to you how you want that to happen. So I'm going to give Duncan all pay frequencies because he's going to be the only one processing payroll for me. So I want him to access them all. But you can, of course, amend that. And the next one is that access level. So we're going to dive into that in a bit more detail shortly. This is going to determine based on specific employees. So you can see here we can set an access level with a maximum of 9 and a minimum of 0. So you've got 0 all the way up to 9. The other tick box next to it is, do I want Duncan to have employees who are access level of, let's give him 2. Right, no, we'll go higher, 6. There you go. Do we want Duncan to have access to employees of access level 6 and only 6? Or do we want 6 and lower? So from 0 up to 6. So any employees over 6, Duncan will not have access to. So that's what this means. And we are going to tick the box because I would like him to have access to employees of level 6 and below. And then we will click save. And that is Duncan now officially set up as well. So just to illustrate what we've done there, I mentioned we had one earlier. So I'm going to click File now because we're going to log out and log in with a different username. We're now going to log in as Duncan. There we go. So you'll see now on the left-hand side, there are a lot of gray areas. So you can see from update records down, other than review pension payments, you'll see they're all grayed out. The reason for that is we did not give Duncan access to those sections. So the only things he can access are not grayed out. Again, likewise, if we go into employee, we can go into the employee record or employee wizard, date values, leavers. We can't go into the personnel record. And as you can see, company, we only gave them pay elements and variance settings as well. So that is how those access areas work in regards to that. What I'll quickly do, let me just pop back in as manager because we do need to set a couple more things now. Here we go. I'm going to jump back to the slide first of all. So that's setting and editing user access rights. So you would be doing that for each individual user depending on how you want that user to do it. And as you saw there's a lot of tick boxes. So there's a lot of different customization options you've got to give your various users. So the next is about setting that employee access level. So we talk about that a little bit when we set up Duncan's access rights. So an employee access level, and this is something that we get quite a bit of a common misconception on, if I'm honest. So if a user has something and it's grayed out, one thing they'll say is, well, they've got level 9 access. So it's not always necessarily means that level 9 means you've got access to everything. Level 0 means you've got access to very limited stuff. It's all about specific employees. So you can see there on the screenshot, we've got an employee record and we're in the analysis tab. And we've highlighted the area where you can set the access level. So you're basically assigning employees to a specific access level in their employee record, or if you want to do this for a group of employees, you can do using the global changes to set that access level for multiple employees. Standard employees by default are set as 0, so the lowest access level, or 0. It's a bit difficult because it's not really related to low or high. It's only low and high when it comes to that tick box. So you're kind of going 9, being 9 and under means you've got access to everyone, but you could just have just level 9, which means you only get access to those employees who are access level 9. So it's a bit of a difficult one because it doesn't work in the same way as you would traditionally relate to access levels, so 0 to 9. Directors are always automatically set as level 9. So that's what their default access level is set as. But of course, you can amend that to anything. And as I mentioned earlier, users with access level 8, we've used in this example, can see employees set as level 8 or under, depending if you've ticked that box or not, but they'll not be able to see anyone set as level 9. If you haven't ticked that box, it will be only anyone set as level 8. So that's the employee access level section. So let's quickly jump into Sage 50 Payroll again, and I'll show you where you'd go to set that. So I'm going to look at employee 5. Let's quickly open the employee, and you go into analysis here, and you'll see we have it up there. And you can just tick the little arrows if you want, or of course you can manually type it. So we'll use that example of 8. There we go. If you remember, tell you what, we'll go to tasks, we'll highlight 6 and 7 as well there. Global changes. I'm having a bit of a brain melt. I can't remember where it is. There it is. Assign employees to a new. Apologies there. Brain just decided to start working. So it's global changes. Assign employees a new, and then you can get access level. So again, click on that, and we'll give them level 8. Click OK. Click yes, and OK again. So now we know 5, 6, and 7 all have that access level of 8. So again, if we now go ahead into security and access rights, highlight Duncan once more, we know So Duncan can only access level 6. In fact, we'll change demo, however, to just level 8 and give that everything. So you notice for demo, we did not tick the box, sorry. So we'll log in now as Duncan. And you'll see now in the employee list, we get a quick message to say that the user does not have sufficient rights to view all employees, which is correct. Click yes or okay. And you'll notice that 567 is now missing. However, now we log in with demo. We get the same message. So we can click OK. And now only 5, 6, and 7 are appearing. So although we set their access level to 8, which is relatively high on the scale, we still only have 3 employees because we did not tick that box. So they can only see any employees who are assigned to access level 8 and only 8. So that is the employee access levels and how they work. So we did want to cover that because, as I mentioned, it is a bit of a misconception about how that works. It's all about setting specific employees and being able to see specific employees as well. So again, often it's the case that if something's grayed out, first thing you look at is access level. It's not relevant. It is all about that right-hand side column when it comes to that, or it could well be your employee pay frequency. Please note as well at this point, there are certain features or can be certain features that are only accessible using the manager password. And I'll use an example that we've had recently in the JRS scheme. So when we had our JRS module, that was only accessible by the manager username. So there can be features such as that. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Very rare though, very rare. What we'll do now, we've got 5 minutes left of the session. So we do have a little bit of time for a quiz. Now, please feel free to get your questions in whilst we're going through the quiz. It's going to appear as a poll on your screen. All you'll be doing is selecting the right answer or the answer that you think is correct, hitting submit, and then what we'll do is we'll reveal the result and go through the answers as well. Don't worry, it's completely anonymous and completely optional. It's just a little bit of engagement for you guys to get involved as well. So we'll start with the first question. And I'm going to click launch now. So how many access levels are there? So you have 3 options, multiple choice, 9, 10, or 8. So how many access levels are there? We'll leave this on for about a minute and we'll reveal the results. Got about 15 seconds left and then we'll close this one down. We'll move on to the next question. After, of course, revealing the answer and the results. Okay, so that is the minute. So let's close that down and we'll share the results. So I'll be honest with you, this was a bit of a trick question, a little bit of a trick question, and I can see it slipped up quite a lot of you. So you are, I know what you're thinking. You're right, the top level is 9, but remember 0 is also an access level. Therefore, there is 10. There are 10 access levels in total. So it doesn't go from 1 to 10, it goes to 0 to 9 instead. So we thought we'd start with the little tricky one there. Why not? But yes, there are 10 in total access levels, 0 all the way up to 9 as well. So let's move on to question number 2. And that is, how many users can you set up? Is it unlimited? Is it as many as your license dictates? Or is it 99? So again, we'll leave this on for about a minute and let that run for you. And we have done quizzes in the past, but I've been told I make them too easy. So hopefully these are a little bit more challenging for you. Okay, we've got 10 more seconds on this question, and we'll reveal the results, and we'll jump on to the final question. Okay, so the minute has come up, so let's close this one down, and once again, share the results. So a bit of a mixed bag again. We've got 47% saying unlimited, 50% saying as many as your license dictates. Again, can understand where the 50% is coming from. However, the answer is unlimited. You have unlimited amount of users you can set up in the Sage 50 payroll. Your license dictates how many users can log in at the same time. So you could create 52 users on a single user license, but only one of those 52 can ever log into the payroll at any one time. So your license in essence refers to installations of Sage 50 payroll on different machines in essence. So if you've got 4 people, for example, who all run the payroll and they want to be able to log in at the same time, you'll need a multi-user license. But if you wanted to, you could give each of them three usernames each. I don't know why you would do that, but just as an example. So yes, it's unlimited. You can have as many users as you like. Your license dictates how many can be logged in at the same time. So that's the key difference. Okay, last question. Let's get this one launched. So a bit of a scenario we've got. One user has asked why they can't see 2 specific employees, but can see others of the same pay frequency. So what should you be checking? So we've got employee access level, the access to areas, or the employee pay frequency. So what should you be checking? This will be your first check. When it comes to troubleshooting, there's always checks after this. First thing you should be checking. So we know the pay frequency. We know that the employees, they can see all of the other employees with the same pay frequency. But yet these 2 are not visible for this user. So what are we checking? Again, we'll give that a couple of seconds more because we are running swiftly out of time, I'm aware. So that will be that one. So let's close that one down and reveal the answers to this one. So let's share that one. Okay, so probably the easiest question out of the lot. 85% of you got it right. Employee access level is the first thing you should be checking. So I tried, unfortunately, character limits, but I tried to word it in that we already know the employee pay frequency is correct. So it's the same pay frequency. So we've checked that. Access to areas isn't going to matter because this is about specific employees, which means first thing you should be checking is your employee access levels. Make sure that the employees are assigned the right access level for that user to be able to see, or of course, vice versa. So that's it for the quiz. Hopefully you enjoyed that. A little bit of engagement, as I mentioned. Hopefully it helped embed the knowledge as well. So before we spend a little bit extra time for questions and then wrap up, I just wanted to run through some further support for you. First of all, we have our help center. So if you do have any questions, user management related, or of course, anything you need to know Sage 50 payroll related, visit sage.co.uk/help. And there you can search for all of the answers. You can also now in Sage 50 payroll, press the F1 key on your keyboard to bring up the help center within product. So it's definitely worth giving that a go because that is a really nice little feature where you can get the help you need directly from in the program. There you can search our knowledge base. So type in your specific question, search through the support guides as well, access our webinars as well. So either search for webinars if you're pressing F1 or click the webinar button in the top right of our website, so our Help Center website. There will also be videos as well as the get in touch options as well. So if you do need to speak to someone, the support number or web chat link is there. And last but certainly not least, Sage University, so sageu.com. If you wish to join us for some further learning, please do head on over to sageu.com. It's free, free to access, and there's some amazing courses on there as well, which can be done at your own time and in your own pace as well. So it's really good if you want to expand your Sage Payroll learning. You can get badges, certifications as well that can go on your CV if you wish, and share on social media, of course. So I do advise having a look at that if you get a spare moment, which I know is always a rarity when running payroll, but if you do ever get that spare bit of downtime, do head over to sageu.com. So that is it for the session. So I'm aware we've overrun slightly, so I will stick around just a little bit longer to make sure everyone has a chance to ask their questions and get those answered as well. And I'll be back shortly to say our goodbyes. If you are leaving us at this stage, it's been a pleasure to see so many of you join us today. You will be directed to a short feedback survey when you leave the session or the session comes to an end. And it is your chance there to let us know what you want to see, how you thought of the presentation itself, what you want to see from us when it comes to presenting as well. As any other feedback that you might have. It does mean a lot to both myself and Duncan for you filling those in, because we take it, we don't ignore it. We do really read it quite religiously, actually, and try and make as many changes as possible. Quiz as being one of them, in fact. So thank you so much in advance for doing that. So I'm going to jump on mute now, and we'll pop back to say our final goodbyes very shortly. Okay, so I can see we haven't had a question come through for a good few minutes now, so we're going to wrap that up there. Thank you again to everyone who's attended and stuck around to the end. I echo the thoughts from earlier that I really hope you did enjoy it and learn a bit more about setting up and managing your payroll users within Sage 50 Payroll. All that's left from me then is to thank you once again and hope that you are having a wonderful time in some of this nice weather that we might be having across the country. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. And of course, staying safe out there still. And hopefully we'll see you in another webinar soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.